I would like us to all stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. And now if we could have the reading of our mission statement.
Richmond Community Schools guide students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
Thank you. And our vision statement.
Richmond Community Schools, a community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for life of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you very much. And since this is we are now going to go to our celebrations and reflections.
Okay, this evening we are going to hear from Dr. Reynolds regarding student digital leadership. Dr. Reynolds.
I hate to stand, but I think a couple of links I wanted to click while I'm up here on the PowerPoint. We first had this in place on the schedule for the board celebrations a number of months ago. And the closer we looked at it, and the more we wanted to say about student digital leadership, we first had to realize the teacher digital leadership portion that we've been trying to address to better serve our students. So I asked Mr. Terrell if we could maybe rethink how we give this presentation, and maybe next month, if he would allow, come back with some students to further demonstrate or further show you our student digital leadership. Really, to first talk about student digital leadership, we really have to talk about the teacher digital leadership. And what does that mean? We have to rethink, and we have been rethinking, how we can better serve our teachers and administrators by providing them professional learning opportunities that they need. This district, just like a classroom, is full of folks of a variety of backgrounds, needs, experiences, interest. So what we've tried to do over the last few years is provide outstanding personalized professional learning opportunities through book studies and Twitter chats, through our PD days that we held last January, and then on January 5th. Just a few samplings I've listed on the PowerPoint for of the offerings that we provided this year at that PD day. Again, just like our students' classrooms, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And if we really want to rethink and reinvent our instructional practices to have students as digital leaders, we really have to rethink how we do our classrooms. So, like I said, these are some of the opportunities that we provided at the January PD day, and just a couple of quotes that we pulled out, and just to give you a little bit of insight about the day. The teachers were terrific, administrators were terrific throughout the day in providing good feedback. And again, let me remind you that all the sessions were provided by our, I think, minus 3 sessions, they were all provided by our very own faculty and staff. So we had that discussion a long time ago about tapping into our resources that we have at our fingertips with our teachers and administrators that we have. Something else that is really impacting our student digital leadership is our Next Gen Cadre. It's a group of, last year we had about 24 teachers. This year it's a little small, 24 teachers and administrators. This year I think it's 18 teachers and administrators. And those sessions are really focused on improving students' digital leadership skills, and using Canvas as that vehicle. what we did, we asked some of the folks from that cadre to give us a 90-second blurb about their personalized professional learning, and I think it gives you a much better insight than I can about what they've been doing. Not just through the Next Gen cadre, but through many of our professional learning opportunities.
Hi, my name is Kaylin Hooker. I'm a first grade teacher at Star Elementary. So this year I've really branched out, kind of stepped out of my comfort zone, love being part of the cadre. And because of that, I have become involved with Twitter, which I knew nothing about before, but I really enjoy using the app. And a lot of times I'm just kind of lurking. I have participated in a few chats. But I thoroughly enjoy that, and I've learned a lot, and even from just some of the people I've been able to follow. So that's been a pretty cool experience. I have read quite a few books. Love learning. Carrie Ann brought Lori DeSatel to our school, and I was able to participate in that, and I've taken a lot away from it as well. And even have decided to take a class of hers and get a certificate in educational neuroscience. So I'm very excited about that as well. And just going to the cadre meetings and listening to everyone, taking all that in has been extremely helpful in working with Joni and really just making Canvas and iPads technology a part of my everyday teaching has been a great experience. Thanks.
Hey, this is Mr. Bennett at Richmond High School. I'm here to talk a little bit about my personalized PD this year.
So I've been using Twitter as my main form of professional development, and it's really great because I can be sitting at home in my dining room in my sweatshirt, or I can be walking around the track at the high school at my lunch hour, just sort of like taking in little bits of information and like processing that later. So it's a great way for me to connect people within the district and get outside voices on all kinds of different issues that I'm interested in. So that's been it's been how I've been personalizing my PD this year.
Oops.
Hello, this is Melody Williams from Crestdale, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. And I've been able to personalize my PD this year through a lot of different ways. It's nice because being a kindergarten teacher, you always kind of feel like you're out of the loop of the regular elementary because your kids can't quite do everything. So what's been great about this year is we were able to attend the state kindergarten conference to be with like-minded individuals, get some ideas that really apply and we can use. That was an amazing opportunity. Also, our central office professional library, it is an amazing opportunity that people need to really utilize because you can go in and pick out whatever book applies to you that you feel like you need to work on or something that just is of interest to you. Being on the cadre has been part of that because I can take Canvas and I can make it adapt for me and for my children at my level. So that has really helped with my personalizing for things just for me and not just as a blanket elementary statement. Also, our January 5th PD, Level Up, was a really cool opportunity that I've heard a lot of great feedback about because there were so many options people could attend and it didn't just have to be what everyone was supposed to be. You could really take your time and think about what was best for you and what you could get out of it. So RCS, way to go.
And just one more, if you just humor me a little bit.
Hi, Katie Belanger here, 7th grade math teacher at Test. And what I love this year about personalizing my professional development is all the opportunities that RCS provides for us. The biggest thing is this year I went to Blended Live earlier this year and it really transformed what I wanted to do in my classroom. And because RCS is so flexible in allowing us to do our own PD a lot, I could take that and run with it. I've used the library in the central office for lots of books to further that study that I've been doing about blended learning. I've collaborated with some peers that are doing some of the same activities in different subjects and how we can change it and broaden it across the whole grade level. Twitter chats are huge. I've actually never done one before this year, and when I got into the cadre, the Next Gen cadre this year, it really pushed me to check it out and see what it's all about, and I've been able to get ideas and connect with other educators across the state and country about what they're doing and how they're using station rotations and blended learning and technology and incorporating it all into middle school math. Another way to personalize PD this year was the January 5th PD. I actually presented 2 sessions, and I've never presented in front of my colleagues ever before. So it was pretty cool to get to have an open blanket of what do you want to present and run with it. So it really pushed me to do better. So thanks RCS for all the support and opportunities to personalize our PD this year.
And I know that the session was labeled as student digital leadership, but I think it's important that I want to be able to come back and bring some folks and some videos in of some student digital leadership. But I thought it was important to talk about how that happened. It just didn't happen. It's been a transformational process that our teachers and administrators have really taken a hold of, embraced, I should say, and ran with. So just a glimpse into some of the things that we've been doing with student digital leadership on the backside. So hopefully, Mr. Terrell, next month we could bring a group in to show you some end product of the students and the student digital leadership.
Great. Questions?
Any questions, guys?
A couple of them mentioned the library. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. We had some Title II funds left over last year, and some grants that we had the opportunity to purchase some books for the central office library upstairs. So what we've done is we've posted that in a number of different ways, but the main access point's through Canvas. You go in there, you check out a book, you can read it, you can do it as a group and do book studies, you can set up different Twitter chats. It's really kind of caught fire. I was a little skeptical of it. I thought, who's going to come to a centralized location to pick up books? But they don't. They check them out online. We drop them, get them over to them. One of us, when we're out in the buildings, will drop them off, and it's really taken off.
Good.
It's kind of cool.
Now, are they all geared around is there a thing all around digital
Nope.
leadership? Or just
Nope.
anything?
Yep. Just anything. Yeah, we have a lot of literacy-based of information up there too. We do have some math. A lot of the math is based with some digital content or some digital resources. The math is, but yeah, it's all wide variety.
Other questions?
Great. All right, guys. I look forward. Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
we'll set up a
look
time
forward
and bring the next section in.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, the selection on January 5th was impressive.
Oh, you saw the library?
Yeah,
The-
no,
some
I
of the
mean,
books?
no, the 5th. On the 5th.
of the offerings.
Yeah, the offerings that they had to choose from was impressive, and everyone seemed super excited that morning during the keynote.
How many? Over 50 sessions that were
50.
led by our people.
Yeah.
So there was over 60-some sessions in the day, but
Yep. We had some double blocks. The keynote, she led some double sessions throughout the day. Sheila Hobbs with Exceptional Ed brought someone in to do a patents presentation. So yeah, just a few outside folks, but the rest of them were all our folks. It was amazing.
It's a great use of that day.
yep.
Well, it's like the last gal said too, that it's providing a lot of teacher leadership. And that's really good.
Thank you. We have our first session of public commentary. Not seeing any
No.
publics. And then we're on to our consent items.
Okay, our consent items this evening, we have 4.01, the approval of minutes, 4.02, human resources, 4.03, accounts payable, 4.04, the Form 9 biannual financial report, and then 4.05, our LRIS for your consideration tonight.
And then there's also a small addendum to the HR. Do I have a motion to accept the consent items as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Motion by Debbie, second by Dixie. Any comments or questions or items that Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. On to the financial stuff.
Okay, so the next section of our meeting is our financial report and financial action items. And I am going to ask Mrs. Scalf to just speak to all of these individually and in order. So, Mrs. Scalf, if you would address those, please.
Good evening. Tonight I come with a whole lot of things that we do each year at the end of the year. The first, I'll give a very quick wrap-up of how 2017 ended. And I will premise this by saying that we will have another report at the next board meeting because by then we will have a budget and we'll go over the 2018 budget. So first and foremost, 2017 was a good year for RCS as we really have been watching our finances very closely and have over the past few years made some significant moves toward cost containment and those factors that continually change in education. We've been ahead of the curve on watching that and making sure that we proactively approach our finances. So that being said, we can say that each taxing fund added cash balance this year, and that is the first time in a very long time that we've been in that position. That means that we came in under budget, which means that we also planned accordingly to what our revenues were going to be. So we did not have to use cash balance in any of the funds this year. That is a good thing, and it's something that we have worked very hard to get to and will strive to maintain for our taxpayers. The first fund that we'll talk about tonight is the general fund. If you'll remember, in early 2017, we did a permanent transfer to the rainy day fund of $792,000 to fund the Power Up initiative. And even with that transfer, we did add cash balances to the general fund at the end of the year. And our current cash balance in that fund is $1,303,944. That is about 3.5% of our total budget, so that is a good place to be in. One thing to note that we will not be doing a sweep to the rainy day fund of those cash balances like we have in past years, and that is intentional as we have provided salary increases to the staff, and we will need to utilize some of those funds this year to make that sustainable. We will continue to watch the funding this year. We monitor student counts very closely. We know that the funding formula is based on those counts, and so we do expect September to possibly see reductions, so we're going to plan accordingly for that, and we're going to make sure that we are within our budget this year as well. More will be coming on that once we have that budget finalized with a budget order. The debt service fund, that cash balance is $680,931. We added $42,000 plus to the cash balance this year. That's just kind of a norm of the taxing protocols. You definitely don't want to be under budget in those funds because you have to make your debt payments. So that's within reason and a good number to be at. The pension bond saw the same. That cash balance is $859,121. $51,686 was added to the cash balance last year. Capital projects, the cash balance is $202,408,643. We did add $222,931 to the cash balance. Of that, $168,000 was the CR Richardson lease funds that we receive on an annual basis. Transportation fund, $1,289,462. We added $215,127 to the cash balance, and this was a big year for transportation because we have not been able to do that until this year. So we are back on schedule with the transportation fund. Bus replacement, The current balance is $273,711. We did add $35,806 to the cash balance. However, I must note that this year our replacement plan is very heavy, and we did receive the 1782 just this morning, late last night, this morning, whichever you want to call it. And I want to provide the board with a
What is the 782?
the 1782 notice is the preliminary budget order. It gives you 2 weeks to take a look, make any changes that you need to make, especially with regard to the prior year expenses. And then you will respond back to the Department of Local Government Finance, which is our agency from the state who provides us with budgets. And then they will issue an official budget order. In that, it also provides us with our appropriations, which is our authority to spend what cash balances we have or will be accruing through taxation funds. And in that, this year, the bus replacement plan only has appropriation for $577,997. That is in alignment with our 1/12 of the replacement plan each year that we get. However, it will not provide appropriation to fund the plan, which is the reason why when we did the budget back in July, August, September, we looked at a rainy day appropriation of $600,000 should that have happened, and that was approved. So we do have appropriation to fund the plan. It is just not in the bus replacement plan alone. We will need to look at that, and the board will want to consider that in the next meeting, because we will need to make our bus purchases soon in order to have delivery before the end of the year. So that will be high priority for me at the next meeting, or if we absolutely have to too, but the next meeting is really going to be a priority focus. The other thing to note is that you will see a temporary transfer, and I'm going to segue into this. The temporary transfer for the bus replacement plan right now is set at $800,000. I do need to amend that because we will not have that appropriation, so we do not need that amount transferred to make the fund flow. I think we can reduce that to $400,000 and be covered for the year, and then that'll just leave those funds in rainy day to be utilized for another purpose. The rainy day balance holds at $4,511,645. We do carry over an appropriation of $154,180 for Power Up technology, and that we will carry that. There are specific purposes set aside, one of those being Microsoft 365, not knowing for sure when that free availability disappears. So we're going to carry that over until that's determined for sure to be unneeded or necessary to use, making the net available $4,357,465. I have requested temporary loans that we will go through next of $1 million if we amend the bus replacement, which will leave a cash balance for the year of $3,357,465 in rainy day until December of 2018, at which point in time those would all be repaid. So that is where we are at financially. Very solid numbers. Thank you, board, for the actions that you've taken to make that happen. Thank you to my peers and to all throughout the district who get us there every day. So any questions on the report before we move on?
Go back to the rainy day fund for a second. So the $155,000 carryover that we have that's been appropriated, and the $600,000 that we approved
With
3
the
months
budget.
ago or 2 months ago, or whatever it was. That's all the allocations that's left that comes out of the rainy day fund, correct?
Correct. Yes.
I have questions about the bus replacement, but why don't we just wait until we get, unless you'd rather talk about that now.
It's next. We might as well.
And I was glad to see the appropriation for 800, because you're going to drop the appropriation from, or the transfer from 800,000 to 400,000 tonight. But, because I was looking at our potential revenue, of course, we don't have the 2018 anticipated yet because you don't have the budget order and all that other stuff, but we weren't going to, I didn't think we were going to collect enough tax receipts to cover the 800,000.
We wouldn't, that's,
So-
yeah. But the hope was I had put in for $1.1 million, I believe, in the original budget. And hoping that those tax receipts, they would increase that levy to make that happen. Not knowing, because we hadn't gotten to that point in the plan yet in which we could test that 1/12 lever, I guess, for lack of a better term, on the bus replacement plan, since it had changed, and knowing that that's not going to happen. What I do know is the circuit breaker estimates came through, and they had expected a drop, and that is not the case for us. So until I see the abstract from the auditor's office in April, I won't know for sure where those come in, but I have to assume that those estimates are solid. If that's the case, the bus replacement plan will see a reduction of $175,000 almost, that I would expect would come off of that 577. So I think the 400 will cover us with what's available revenue. It
So
will
that's
put us
already
at 600, and then we'll watch that revenue, and if we don't use it, we'll only spend what we have cash for, and at that point we'll have to come back. But
Well, because that kind of goes hand in hand when I was looking at the the bus replacement plan and the high years that we're coming into. I mean, this is a problem we've been kicking the can down the road on for several years. And I don't know if it was the update. Somewhere I read that you were working with Ron on putting together the bid proposals for, and so I'm still of hopes that we can still, before we decide what we're going to go out and purchase, that we can still have that conversation about what we can do to maybe, there's a lot of different options that we can consider. And I know when we approved the rainy day fund transfer that night, it was conditional on us having a conversation about some of our, and I just want to make sure that we still have that opportunity, because I'm not a real big fan of using the rainy day fund to make the purchase.
And that is a totally understandable position to be in. What I thought was at the next board meeting, because what they are working on is bus quotes for us right now to know what that cost is actually going to be. We have found out that we are able to utilize the purchasing power of a service center that we are a part of that go and procure bus bids statewide.
Is that the educational?
It's the
Educational Services Region 8
IA,
or something like
they're called the IA. Purchasing powerhouse is what it looks like to me, for schools.
We pay for membership for that, though, don't we?
That we do not. We just have to sign up, because they actually go about it a little bit different than the East Central Service Center, which is what you're talking about. And they go and utilize the vendors for the administrative fee to be a part of them. So we don't have that fee to us, but I don't know what their pricing structure looks like for buses. We have utilized them for other purchasing that we do. So they're very familiar with us, we with them. I'm very comfortable with the way that they do business. We got the bus bid package today to look over. I've sent it to Ron and to Mr. Terrell. And then we'll be determining what that looks like for us, but it looks very solid. So
Is it purchase only, or is there short-term lease, or?
it would be purchase only through this position. If we did a short-term lease, I think we would have to write that up and probably request proposals from the various equipment agencies that do it. Yeah, I have received information from our vendor that we generally have purchased buses from in the past. It does save you on an annual basis, however, they're not yours, and that is the big exchange. So, but it is something that.
Well, I'm just trying to, I'm just kind of hoping that we can at least try to put together some kind of a long-term, multi-year, you know, approach, and if we need to do a short-term lease for a couple years, or, you know, I'm kind of open for some suggestions, but I also, didn't you say that there was some law change is what's kind of prolonged? It's kind of stopped, the conversation kind of stopped for a while.
Yeah, because what's happening is the budgets for 2019 are completely restructured. And so they don't even know yet what the bus replacement requirements are going to be and if you're even going to have a plan.
But that's because it's the operation, because of the way they're going to.
Right, they're consolidating the three funds, the capital fund, the transportation, and the bus replacement fund. And so they currently believe that we're still going to have to provide a plan and that we need to stick with the 12-year rotation. There's nothing final yet. And so we've kind of held off saying what that future plan should look like until we know what it can look like. Just because it could be very different than what we're accustomed to right now.
So you think we'll have any more information on that for next month's meeting?
We probably won't have it by February. We actually, this is a big thing for Richmond Community Schools. We get to host the budget workshop in April the 10th for our region. The state agencies are coming, the Department of Education, State Board of Accounts, the Department of Local Government and Finance will be here to actually present all of that information to our region at Civic Hall on April 10th. So we will find out then. They are being very quiet about what that looks like until that point in time. I would imagine it'll start getting leaked. The meetings all start, I think, late March, early April. So I think we'll start seeing some more at that point. But I don't have answers right now on that. I would say that what we need to do is take a serious look at this year and see what we want to do for this year and what we want to fund, because that's the primary priority right now, and then determine what those next years are going to look like once we know what they can.
Well, we still have to be concerned a little bit about next year, because even if they combine the funds, we're still going to have a worry. We're still going to have an allocation or a percentage that we're going to have to worry about.
Yeah, and it's a large amount next year as well. So it is a concern that we need to be looking at.
So when they come in, is that meeting going to be open to board members too?
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear our legislators talk.
Oh, they won't. I don't think.
Listen, legislators.
No, it's the Department of Local Government Finance and the State Board of Accounts. Mostly.
So when do we have to make? What is the last date that we can make our purchases for the bus so we can have them on time?
I would say middle of February, if we want them before the end of the year. And what I'm finding.
School year or the end of the calendar year?
End of the calendar year. We're already at that. If we had in the plan to purchase some different types of buses than we were used to, some activity buses to help with the yellow buses, to help get some activities and athletics, some other types of buses to make some things a little bit smoother with the day-to-day. And if we do that, they are already telling me 1st of December right now.
That's if we order now.
That's if we ordered today.
And AutoCar just laid off workers.
Yeah. So what I have been told for school buses is if we were to order today, we might get them by September. You know, they would hope for July. They're telling me September. That tells me probably October. So I would say we only have a couple of weeks really to determine what we really want to do and get that order in. I have requested that the bus dealer that we work with has put in a preliminary build of the quote so that we can at least get pricing. What I know is if we do that right now, we get 2017 pricing on those bus bids. And that is, I know that Mrs. Jankowski can tell us, a tremendous savings usually, because you usually have some inflation year to year on vehicles. So we're trying to get that at least quoted and in, and those quotes to be held for 90 days so that we have the time to make that happen. It's just taking delivery is going to be really tight.
So how do we balance us being able to have that conversation before we make that step?
What we can do is because we got the notice today, it's gonna be on my priority list the next couple days to at least get that back to the department and get that rolling, and then I'll know basically what that looks like. Bus replacement usually doesn't change a lot. A couple of the other funds do. That one, however, does not. So I can put together some information and get it to Mr. Terrell, and he could get that out to you as early as possible so that you guys can start looking at that. I am waiting on those quotes. I'd like to get you guys the most recent information that we can before we...
Because even the circuit breaker really affects that, so.
Yes, it does. It does.
When you combine the circuit breaker with the change in the funding and add it all together, it's kind of that perfect storm of, are we going to have enough of that information to have those conversations before we need to place the order?
And that's the question, and maybe we only place order for half of them, I don't know.
Right.
But that's why I would love to have that conversation for this year, and maybe the next, we got, I think, the next 3 out of the 4 years are going to be, if I remember right. Is that right?
I think
Here's
it's
1
2,
year
then a break, and then another
Right.
one.
So I just want to have some kind of an idea, and I think, I've been thinking about it off and on for years, and I'm just thinking, well, lease may not be the preferred, but typically when you do a lease, your annual cost goes down as well. So, if we need to use a lease for 2 years or 3 years to put us through a hump, then maybe at the same time, we could use that lease to help get us back to an even annual purchase of, 5 buses or whatever number we've determined, because our number of buses have been reduced. So, I was just trying to figure out, we've got to come up with some plan that puts us back on all of our buses divided by 12, and that's what we're purchasing.
Yeah, that's my number one, and I'm not hearing that. I mean, I know it's part of the conversation, but we should spend the same amount of dollars every year on buses. And I don't know if in some years we buy 2 activity buses and some years we buy 4 yellow buses, but this spike is, and maybe it's years of kicking it down.
Well, we created the problem because we were tight on funding in some previous years.
But it sounds like the state is loosening the rules on how long a bus can stay in service. Did I hear that?
Well, they aren't loosening it. They're just letting us know that we can continue to utilize buses. We just have to have them inspected more often and make sure that is something that we are on top of. We are always on top of that here. We do not have that issue. However, this year we have some lemons we have to get rid of. They're out of service now, and they're doing us no good on a lot. So this year might not be the year that we can do some shifting.
Well, I'd like to see like a 10-year plan. How many buses are we buying each year for the next 10 years?
You have that right now.
Yeah, we have
Bus
that.
replacement plan exists.
But I'd like to see that smoothed out,
Yeah.
so it's the same number
That's
every
where
year.
I'm at.
And if we have to
Mine
lease
too.
buses in year 3 and 4 for 2 years, I think that makes sense. But I get real nervous when I see that.
And I'm not trying to say you're not on top of it.
Well,
I mean, we just, this has been on our plate for, ever
12
since we
years.
decided not to make the one purchase several years ago. We knew it was coming, so.
And the reason that, there was good reasons at that time.
Right. I'm not saying that we made the wrong decision. I'm
Right.
just saying that,
Well, and we've talked about it every time too, about trying to even it out some way. We've got to figure out how to do that. Because as budgets get tighter and then you get these huge bus years, it's hard.
Well, and like you said, maybe this year is different than the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, but at least we could have maybe some plan that we're working toward. Thank you.
Okay.
That's my question, so.
Yep. All right.
Others?
And what I'll tell you, Student Transit has been more than willing to come and discuss with you how the buses work as far as maintenance and what they're seeing, and if there are ways that we can prolong the life. I know we're looking at a different type of ordering for some of the air conditioning and the heating because of just being aware that when it's a lower level, it sucks the dirt in when you can go on top, and it doesn't do that. So we are looking at other options to help extend life that way as well, but they are always welcome. They have always said they will come and present to you. So if you do want them here, please let me know, and I'll make contact with
I'm not personally so much worried about the maintenance of it.
Okay. Okay, so are we ready to move on then?
But we do purchase the buses with maintenance contracts.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
that was a change
we
we
do.
made several years ago, so.
Yes.
Is that maintenance contract
If you
for-
want them to last longer than 12 years, though, then that's something you really have to pay attention to.
Is the maintenance contract 12 years, the length? Or
No.
It's like 3 or 5 years or something?
Yeah, it's a much shorter period.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it does save us a tremendous amount in parts, and it helps the service area over there to have consistent things to work with.
Years ago, we used to, here I said I was done, sorry. Years ago, we used to have the bus bids come to the board so they could see them and be aware of them and see the different bids. And, you know, that's kind of stopped because of us approving the plan. It's not required.
Well, it stopped because we purchased through the service center.
Oh,
And
okay.
they do the bid through the state. And so it takes care of that for us. And it does, that part actually saves us money in advertising.
Advertising, but
things
what
like
I'm
that,
saying is maybe that process, even though they're doing it, maybe if the board members see that process, if they can see what's involved with it. It is more involving than what you think.
Yep. Okay, so we'll move on to the next resolution for temporary transfer in a depleted fund. And tonight, I'm going to start with the bus replacement fund. And as I've stated before, our cash balance for the bus replacement fund is $273,711.55. And there's a need for a temporary transfer from the rainy day fund to the bus replacement fund. And I'm going to ask that the board amend this amount to $400,000 to maintain a positive cash position. This temporary loan will be repaid by December 31st, 2018. It's my recommendation that the school board approve the request for temporary transfer to the depleted fund for bus replacement.
I'll make the motion that we approve the transfer
With the amendment. Yes.
with the amended amount of $400,000.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Okay. It is also necessary that we do a temporary transfer to the pension bond fund. Our cash balance for the pension bond fund is $859,120.69. There is a need for a temporary transfer from the rainy day fund to the pension bond fund of $300,000 to maintain a positive cash position. The temporary loan will again be repaid by December 31st, 2018. It's my recommendation that the school board approve the request for temporary transfer to the depleted fund in the pension bond fund.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the temporary transfer for the rainy day, from the rainy day fund to the pension fund.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comments or questions on that one? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, moving on to the last request for temporary transfer. Our cash balance in the transportation operating fund is $1,289,461.98. There's a need for a temporary transfer from the rainy day fund to the transportation operating fund in the amount of $300,000 to maintain a positive cash balance. This temporary loan will be repaid December 31st, 2018. It's my recommendation that the board approve the request for temporary transfer to the depleted fund for the transportation operating fund.
Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Motion by Dixie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jeff. Any questions on that one? Comments? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, and the last action item in this area is the 2017 budget appropriation transfers. This year, we had transfers necessary in the general fund. Each year, as we go through the process of closing the books on our taxing funds, there are line items that have expended less than appropriated and those that have expended more than appropriated in the approved budgets. We're required to have board action on transfers of appropriation from one major function category to another, as expressed on the adopted budget forms. These transfers are attached for each affected fund. The resolution presented accomplishes the budget appropriation transfer process and balances all line item expenditures. This motion shifts available appropriations from where there was not a need to where there was a need within the general fund, noting that no expenditures were made that were in excess of the total available appropriation for each fund. It's my recommendation that the school board approve the resolution for the 2017 budget appropriation transfers in the general fund as presented.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Jeff? Any comments or questions on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, very good.
Before we open the next part, hey guys, can you come up here and check something just kicked on, a fan or something really loud? And normally it does that like right before it shuts down, but it's been going for a couple minutes, maybe more.
Happens.
Projector, sir.
Is that one?
Let me turn it off.
That'd be great.
I think it's this one.
I think it's this one. It's up here too.
It's that far. It's that side next to Karen.
Everyone thinks it's a different one.
It's up here too, sweetie.
If Rob was here.
I think it's the other side.
And also be I believe the time these have been on too.
They're all on.
It really is all of them.
Yep,
They've been on a while.
Perfect.
That's all. That is
If we
very
need them
different.
again, we'll
Thank
turn
you
it
so
back on.
much.
Thank you.
Technology.
There you go. Still fans in there, isn't there, Jeff?
They keep transferring cows.
That's right. So, all right. So the next order of business is I need a motion to close the board meeting and reconvene as the Board of Finance.
I make the motion that we close the board meeting and reconvene as the Board of Finance.
Very good. Do I have a second?
A second.
I
Okay.
think that you're suspending the board meeting because I think you will.
Thank you. Suspending the board meeting is the more proper.
I correct my
appreciate that.
motion to have the word suspend put in there.
Second.
They close.
That was Dixie. All right. All of those in favor of suspending the board meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank goodness. Okay. Next, we need to, our first order of business here is to organize the Board of Finance, and I need to entertain a motion to elect the board president and the secretary as the president and secretary of the Board of Finance.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, very good. Any questions about that? Pretty traditional. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, our next order of business is Mrs. Scalf has a presentation regarding our investment summary.
Yes, tonight you will notice that our investments are slowly creeping upward on an annual basis. Total investments this year in interest, we accrued $21,382.73. We do have interest-bearing accounts at U.S. Bank, and the interest accrued there is $2,237.60. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, that account yielded $4,216.62, and West End Bank yielded $14,921.51. Last year, our interest was just over $14,000, so we are slowly getting a little bit more in interest. So that is our investment report. You will notice that policy number 5144 is our policy regarding investment, and we do follow that. So are there any comments or questions on that? Okay, then I ask that. Oh,
I'm sorry. The interest stays in the account, I take it.
Goes to the
No.
general fund.
the general fund
Okay.
gets the interest.
And then,
Sorry, you should.
secondly, Chase, if they're no longer in Richmond.
They're only closing one branch,
Just
so
okay.
there still
Just
will
there.
be other branches to go to.
That's fine.
Okay, then I ask that the board accept this report as it's been presented.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept it?
I move that we accept the report as it was presented.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor of accepting the report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed. And then we have one more presentation, am I right?
That's it.
Oh, it's Miss, okay, I got you. Looked like we had another category. All right.
Then I motion that we close the Board of Finance meeting and reconvene our regular scheduled board meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, we are back, even though we never really left. Okay, we have some further action items.
Okay, our first action item this evening is 7.01 donations. Since the projectors were loud, they are on your screens as well if you'll click the attachment there. But I'm going to ask Mrs. Scalf if she would speak to the donations at this time.
Tonight, I come to you with $5,256 in donations. We would like to thank Hills Pet Nutrition for donating t-shirts to the Westview Robotics team in the amount of $156. Tech Point Foundation for Youth donated to the Westview Robotics Club $400. Robert and Pam Brawley donated a Rifton adaptive tricycle valued at $2,000 to the Hibbert Intermediate Life Skills Program. Terry Harkleroad Properties donated to Test Intermediate for their canned food drive and Students in Need program, $150. Jim Herbal donated school supplies for students in need at RHS, $300. Natco Credit Union donated $100 to the RHS AP Science camping trip. Harrington Hoke and Dot Food Inc. donated to the RHS Career Education Center. Dot Food donating $500, Harrington Hoke donating $100. Dot Food also donated to the RHS Family and Consumer Science Department, supplies valued at $500. Mr. and Mrs. John Short donated to the Athletic Department at RHS $50, and Richmond Independent Agents Association and Wayne County Insurance donated $1,000 to the RHS Athletic Department. Tonight, I bring these donations to you and ask that you approve them. And again, we thank all of our donors. We couldn't do it without you.
Do I have a motion to accept the donations as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comments or questions other than thank you very much? Every bit is appreciated. All those in favor of accepting the donations as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Hearing none opposed, we will go on to policies. Most of these are clerical in nature, so Mr. Terrell is going to sort of walk us through these.
Sure. Thank you. Tonight we bring these policies to you for your consideration and approval. These policies were approved in the updates, and you can see the listed policies there as they are on your board doc page. Basically, all this is clerical cleanup. The cabinet members, we worked through looking at the different things that needed to be changed there. So at this time, rather than go through all 11 of them, if there's anything that jumped out at you guys that you want clarification for, we'd be more than happy to talk through that. If not, at this time, we ask for your approval to the changes made to these policies.
The only one I wanted to ask about was the after-school childcare. So on days that we don't have school, there is no after-school childcare, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the edits to the policies as they were presented in board docs?
I move that we make the corrections.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
And this is for approval, not second reading, right?
Okay, that was my question. I didn't realize, had that
Thank you.
been presented on first reading previously?
No.
They have not.
It's been the practice in the past, even
You
with
are
the
right.
policy amendments, to offer them on 2 readings with the first approving it to be
Okay.
You are correct.
passed on to the second reading.
That-
That gives you a
that
little
was-
time to.
That was my mistake. Since there were such clerical corrections, I skipped that step, and I apologize. So,
But do we have to go through that step?
It's just, like I said,
It's something we always do, but do we have to if they're okay?
it gives us an opportunity for folks to make sure that it's
Okay.
accurate. So, we probably should do that. So, would you like to amend your,
Okay, I move that we, on first reading, accept the changes to the policies.
send them to second
And
reading?
send
There
it
you
to
go.
second
There you go.
reading.
Very good. So do I, all those in favor of moving these policy corrections to second reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, that will give us the opportunity to take them up next time. And then we're on to high school summer school offerings.
So our next action item this evening is high school summer school offerings. I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds if he would speak to that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Terrell. It's my recommendation that the board approve the RHS summer school offerings as a 4-week summer program beginning June 4th and ending July 29th, 2018. Of course, we may need to adjust dates depending on weather. Summer classes at the high school have traditionally provided educational opportunities for students for a variety of reasons, such as some students use summer classes to free up time during their regular academic session. Other students use summer school to help recover credits or retake credits to improve their overall GPA. Our goal with summer school is to provide opportunities for students during this 4-week session that will allow for up to 120 students to earn credits through online and traditional teacher-taught classes. The plan is to allow for students to take up to 2 online classes. Online classes are offered either from 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Students are also offered physical education during the morning session and band, but those classes are offered as a traditional class. It is my recommendation that the board approve the Richmond High School to offer a 4-week summer school program beginning June 4th, ending June 29th, and again, dates may vary.
Do I have a motion to accept the high school summer school offerings?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
I just have a quick question. Is there any discussion on the format of the online courses? I mean, do we reevaluate that? I know it's pretty rigid, is that they be at school in that time, and I didn't know if there would be opportunity to more flexibility might encourage
more students to do it.
More students.
No one has asked that yet, but we can certainly look into it. Yeah.
Would you have any indication on numbers to where what we're going to require as staffing or anything?
Not yet.
So
I
up to
have the
120
information from the last
students.
couple of years.
Are we anticipating staying on par with that?
I would assume it went up a little bit last year, but I think the last 3 years have been pretty similar numbers.
And it's really driven by what the state's reimbursement requires.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the high school summer school offerings signify by saying aye. Aye. Hearing none opposed. We have a HOSA overnight field trip.
Dr. Reynolds, would you speak to our overnight field trip request?
Absolutely. Our health occupational students of America are looking to compete in Indianapolis from April 9th to the 11th at the state competition. We have a very fine HOSA program, and our students typically are very successful. They'll leave about midday on a Monday, go down and have an informational session, practice for the Tuesday and Wednesday competition, and then have an award ceremony Wednesday and return on Wednesday of that week. And again, I ask for your approval for this overnight field trip for HOSA to Indianapolis to compete in the HOSA state competition.
I'll make the motion that we accept the field trip.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions on this potential trip? All those in favor of approving the HOSA overnight signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing no one opposed. I just lost my vote.
Master plan.
You notice you're starting to talk to yourself?
I did notice that. I actually just lost my board docs. I closed the wrong window, but I do believe we're on to our master plan
We are.
updates.
Board reports and old business. So tonight, we want to talk a little bit about dates and what we're looking at for master planning. So we put out the doodle poll, and I appreciate all of you getting on that as quickly as you did. The dates that we've established, and I believe there's one board member can't be present on one of the dates, and another board member can't be present on the other date. And I believe that's the 15th and 20th, maybe. I don't remember for sure, but the majority can be there. Everybody can be there at least one of the nights, and 6 of the 7 can be there on the other 2 nights. So that's good. We appreciate your efforts with that. So the dates we're looking at are February 6th, February 15th, and then February 20th. And those will be the community staff meeting dates. And I'll send all these to you once we have this conversation tonight. With the intention that the 20th we'll have the midday business leaders meeting, and then at the 20th in the evening, then at 6 p.m. will be another community meeting as well. Then the plan for our staff meetings on the 13th of February, it's a Tuesday, that will be the elementary staff meetings, and then on the 20th will be the secondary buildings, including CYS and Hibbert as well. So that will be on the 20th. The plan right now, what we're working on, I had an email back and forth today with Bill Payne. We're working on putting the survey together, as was requested by the board, to post on the website and to distribute electronically for people to participate in. I am actually having a telephonic conference with him tomorrow at 2 to get more information on the development of the questions for that. And as was requested by the board, once we have what that survey is going to look like, I will send that on to you, all of you, for your review. So if there are things that you question or other things that you want to see or ask why something isn't there, we can have that opportunity for you as well. Last week I met with cabinet and directors to work through the agenda meeting, which was basically that document that you had in last board docs for the board meeting, to put together the agenda. Yes, that one that you have there, Jeff. And what we did was we took that further to go through and start to look at all of our programs to make sure if there was anything we were missing, taking suggestions from the last discussion with the board regarding athletics, making sure that's a part of it, and some other things there. We added that to that document, then gave them time to go back and look at it. We're actually meeting Friday morning to get final thoughts and changes that we will then I will send out to you probably Monday of next week, if not by Tuesday for sure, again for your review, so you can give feedback on that throughout the week, so that way we can make changes going into the first meeting, which is February 6th, 2 weeks from last night. So that way we'll have time to make the additional changes to the agenda as we go into those meetings. So with that being said, just wanted to bring that, fill you guys in on where we're at with it, see if there are additional questions or things that you want to bring
Just
up.
to clarify, the 6th is a 6 p.m.?
Correct. The 6th, 15th, and 20th will all be 6 p.m. times.
It's in the board update, too.
Right.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the process quite a bit. not that we all haven't been, but one of the groups I didn't, the Alumni Association, I didn't know if maybe we could reach out to the alumni and just do something with, maybe not invite them to the meetings, of course, but it would be interesting. Thought it might be a good tie-in to where eventually we want to go back to our alumni and ask them for donations. But more importantly, when we go through these meetings, one of the last meetings that I attended, one of the meetings that I attended, I think probably the only meeting, is when we were at the Morrison Reeves Library. And I think that meeting was around an hour and a half, just maybe a hair after that. I just want to make sure, a couple of people in the audience, I think they were wanting to come to a meeting to have a little bit more discussion instead of having, I think we had like an hour and 20-minute presentation. And some of the people were a little disappointed that it really wasn't a discussion. It was, so I hope the format allows for much more discussion this time.
And the plan for the format for this will be a very brief introduction of where we have come through master planning, so people know what the background, what the different steps we've made to this point, and then to have a short, I don't want to say a list given, but short description of all the different programs that we're currently offering at the elementary, intermediate, high school, adult ed, all the different things that are involved with that from the different administrators that are a part of that. And then the intention from that will be to break into groups and have, okay, we're going to spend 20 minutes talking about elementary programs and then 10 minutes reporting out. And I don't know that 20 minutes is that, I'm just giving you examples.
Right.
And then do the same thing for intermediate, and then do the same thing for the high school, and whatever other different groupings we have. So once we have that agenda more solid as far as what are the different things that we're going to make sure are approached or addressed during that time, then that will allow us to plan out the timing of what all that looks like. But this should be very heavy on opportunities for participation and communication from the community members, whoever shows up for the different meetings.
So are you thinking about each group addressing the same topic at the same time? Or are you thinking about listing 15 topics and have each group do a topic?
What has been suggested to us by Fanning and Howie, and we think with their thought process thinking it's a good idea, is to have every group start off talking about elementary, then every group talking about, and just to go right through each one of the, what if it's 5 different areas, 4 different, whatever that may be. Because what happens then is you don't get people who just want to talk about athletics or just want to talk about the honors programs. So that way you're still getting information from everybody and they're hearing. So part of it is the benefit to that is if I come in and all I'm concerned about is athletics, and then I realize, oh my gosh, look at all these other things that they're doing as well. It helps people. The intention is to help people get a better understanding of
the whole system,
the bigger picture.
How broad we have to spread the resources that we have to reach all of our kids and not just niches.
Okay. That's an interesting, because I was thinking of the other way. I was thinking that some of the meetings can get very passionate about a particular program or a thought, and I thought, well, maybe if it was in concentric groups, then maybe other topics wouldn't be suffered, but I understand.
Sure. And they found that this has really been the best way to get, not only receive more information from people, but get more information to other people, and not just hearing my viewpoint, but hearing Suzanne's viewpoint as well, and whoever else is in that.
Well, but they can't hear our viewpoint because we're just listeners.
I was going to actually make that note that our role will be to be listening during these meetings.
Who will lead discussion? What's the thought on that?
Yeah, so central office administrators are going to be the ones leading the discussions, both with the community members and also in our buildings. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, so that we can get a consistent presentation of the information. They also have the knowledge and experience with the whole process to know where it's going. But another one that's a big part of that is when we go into our staff meetings in particular, we want our building principals to be able to participate in those conversations and not to think, well, this is one more thing I have to prep, and oh my goodness, I had 2 incidents today during the school day. I had this happening as well, and I didn't have a chance to put in as much time as I wanted to. So really to try and remove the obstacles from that situation. The plan is that we will have cabinet and directors work together to come up with, and that's why we included them on the agenda portion of this, to be the ones that are out there presenting it.
So they'll be making sort of the introductory presentation, here's what we're doing now, and then will they also be facilitating the individual tables
Correct.
discussions too? And are we going to try to keep the, I mean, if you have 40 people there, we're going to try to
Yes.
do enough, small enough, I mean, obviously you don't want to be reporting
Right.
out till next Tuesday, but
Right.
enough, small enough so that there can be some actual.
We'd love it if we had 40 or 50 in each.
That'd be great.
Meeting where we had to
Yeah.
divide up, but we're gonna make sure that we've got enough administrators and resources there, space to divide those groups up,
Okay.
so that it's large enough to accomplish what we need to, but not so big that everybody doesn't have a chance to
then
speak out.
For our benefit as well, we'll be able to spread out, hopefully, and listen.
And one of the things that we talked about, both our experiences that we've had working through groups like this, and then also with Bill Payne, was, is it better for board members to group hop, if you will, or sit in on a whole session? And what he suggested is really to sit in on a session, because then you get the full flavor, rather than, well, I heard them say this and I walked over here and they happen to say the same thing over here,
Right.
but, so all you're hearing is.
And then you can hear the other groups as the reporting out happens that
Well,
way, but
that
at
plus
least
that
you're in on the whole
You
group.
warm up with that group.
I agree,
If you
yep.
do they have a tendency to.
But we're only listening.
Well, but they have a tendency
I
to
know.
be a little bit more reluctant
Oh,
sometimes.
I agree, yeah, open up.
Yeah.
If people are popping in and out all the time.
And the last, I think grade reconfiguration has to be a topic.
It does, and we've made sure that we've included that.
So, so do we approach that in the beginning, or, because if you're gonna have an elementary, I don't wanna have to talk
Yeah.
about it 3 times, but I didn't know.
Yes, and that's one of the things that we're working through, that they're bringing recommendations back on Friday. It's also, so then once we make those final or recommendations of what that agenda could look like, or what our plan is to send out to all of you for your review, then we'll have that listed as to how we're going to address those issues, to make sure that, yeah, because we don't want to keep, if we have 20 minutes for elementary.
Yeah, I don't want it the same thing.
That's right. We don't want to spend 15 of it on grade configuration, and then go to intermediate and spend another 15.
15, right.
So let's have 10 minutes on grade configuration as just grade configuration, and really hear about it.
Okay.
So are we looking for affirmation, or surprises, or priorities? I mean, what's our kind of?
Yes.
I was just about to say yes. I think the
But
answer is
really,
yes.
it is all of it, because I think part of what I hope all of you get out of this is that you hear affirmation of things that we're doing well, surprises of things that maybe we hadn't thought of yet, concerns of there are things that we should do differently or better. And then I think over all of that, then what you guys are gonna have to do is then you're gonna have to take all these different lenses and put them, of all the different parts of the process we've gone through thus far. And then, as we were just talking about today with receiving the information that we did last night regarding the budget and some of the tax caps that we anticipate, is then to start looking at, for instance, in transportation, if we go and grade configuration, okay, so if this is what we're hearing, but we know this is the challenge that we're gonna have, how do we meet that challenge if that's that big of a deal? And that may mean all kinds of things that have to happen to make that happen. And so that's where all of you are really gonna have to be brushed up on the information, participate. That's why it's so important that you're at these meetings, so that way you can then make the decisions that you're gonna be called upon to make, with having as much information as you can have and doing what's best for our kids.
Looks like K-12 building, here we come.
Can we can't strike that. This is live, we can't strike it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you did have to say that at the live meeting, Jeffrey.
I said it low.
Yeah, well.
Was it low? We need, what is it they have on network TV? It's delayed by like
Delayed.
15 seconds or something.
Yes.
So we can- we need to see if we can figure that out.
Okay.
Other questions or comments though about that?
I would just recommend that you go back to the update, get those dates in your calendar, adjust what you have to adjust as much as you possibly can. This is our main, very important piece of work right now, and some of the folks that were disappointed, I know in the other meetings, this is really the series of meetings I think they were waiting for. I'm not sure we were ready to do that then, but this is what they were waiting for, I think. And so if you know, as we go back, we need to make sure any of the folks that you've been talking to that had concerns, make sure they know when they are. We'll be promoting them as a district. And if as many, we have to be at these meetings so that, because it's going to be a rough set of decisions.
Yep. The only other thing I would add to that is for the staff meetings, and I'll have Kim send you guys invites for all of these meetings, but for the staff meetings, so with the 13th will be 6 elementaries. Obviously, there's 7 board members, so we'll divide those up. We don't need 2 at Star and nobody at Charles, kind of thing. So we'll work through that one, and then also on the 20th as well with your schedules.
And that would be, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be 5 on the secondary.
Correct. But with the high school being larger.
We need a couple at least,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, and have the staff been alerted to these yet?
Not yet. We wanted to
Okay.
bring them here. We did
No, I
talk.
agree.
We did talk at discussion about the
Okay.
idea,
That's
and they were very appreciative of being included in that and given the opportunity to use the PD time for
Okay.
that. So, yeah.
Of
Well,
course.
I would
Good
think
suggestions.
We should get some good ideas from
I think so too. Yeah.
Well, and clearly, there's a bunch of creative folks out there who are really in the middle of what is current. So I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Before we move on, speaking of creative, we never get a chance sometimes to thank the kids and the teachers for bringing in all the artwork in here for display, because we do have some creative kids and we have some creative teachers that teach them. And there's some nice stuff.
I think Kim has more fun than anybody with it because she gets to come in when they're setting it up. I caught her the other day with the Monster Mash mask on back here. Oh, that wasn't you?
No. That was you.
Who was that?
Pictures or it didn't happen.
The
I like it.
only other report topic I guess I was interested in, is there anything from the legislative perspective that you would like to share?
Yeah, so.
You too?
Go ahead, Dixon.
Well, first, for any of you that can get there, they are going to have the legislative forums again at IU East, and the first one will be February 23rd from 8 to 9 a.m. The second one will be March 23rd from 8 to 9 a.m., and they're in the Whitewater Hall lobby. I noticed they're only having 2 this year instead of 3.
You know what, I watched a webinar that one about a week and a half ago talking about that. That's a pretty nice way to, I was sitting at work, I'd set up the webinar.
ISBA.
The ISBA webinar with the director talking about the impact on the tax. And it was easy for me because I didn't have to pay attention, all I had to do was listen. So I'm sure I didn't catch everything, but I mean, pay attention to your links on your.
Yes.
It was well
Appreciate
worth
that
it.
recommendation.
Sounds like personalized learning, Mr. Terrell.
Why, indeed it does.
Ooh, that's a big word.
Jeff, was there anything of that one that
I'd be
struck
more
you
impressed
as
if he got that link off Twitter.
interesting?
What? Nothing, well, not really, because they couldn't be concrete in what they were talking about, because they were talking about stuff still coming out of committee. There's a couple of the one, I can't remember what the bill number was that they were talking about, that they were advocating for. And I wasn't quite so sure I was going to be an advocate for it, so it's interesting to see how things are starting to change. But it was, they only talked about 5 bills, so they didn't have much opportunity to talk about it, but.
And they started off with TIF districts, right?
They started off, and redevelopment commission and how they changed, and I really don't like the way that they're approaching that, because they're completely taking the voting power of the school away.
Mm-hmm.
And they're thinking that, that the city officials are seeing it as the school officials attacking them, that's why they've changed the bill. But it really doesn't put much meat, and they're supporting it, so that's, you had a representative from way down south, Logansport or someplace like that, or not Logansport, but LaPorte, or,
Yeah,
is that right?
I think that is right.
And, which is the author of the bill, and I can't quite get what his aim is, but.
It was hard to, yeah, I agree with you. Cursive.
Anything?
Cursive writing.
Cursive, that's right, we got cursive, I saw that one
But I think
too.
that the only thing that I would recommend to all of you, the thing that I would recommend to all of you is that as you've seen like the initial ones come out of where they're kind of going with it, right now's the time of year where they're all trying to, what are they gonna just put into study groups for the summer? What are they trying to attach to other ones and come back and, seatbelts now have come up on buses, should that be a law? Should they do with that? The start of school date, so there's a lot of petty ones that they're really, in my mind, they're trying to put out there, but then the underneath stuff with assessments and all of that, that's where the meat of it is, and they haven't hit on those yet, so we'll see how it works out, but yeah. Jeff, that's great, I'm glad you were able to watch that.
Is there anything other in old business?
I get gold star.
Jeff gets a gold star, although with that comment you made earlier about K-12 buildings.
Take it away.
Nobody heard that.
Yeah, until now. Before we move to the next place, though, I do want to send,
Yes, for Jeff.
Be your 24-month and your 18-year-old.
before we go to the next piece, I wanted to send out some thoughts and prayers to Aaron Stevens and his family at the loss of his father this week. I just wanted them all to know that we're thinking about them.
Absolutely.
And I think then we're at our public commentary.
Do we have anybody? Seeing none?
Seeing none, no publics. Preview of upcoming meetings.
One thing that I want to remind you of, February 7th, we agreed, boy, it was in November? I think it was in November. That is going to be a work session with Jane Herndon regarding school finance as far as projects and financing of projects. Again, crucial that you're here to hear that, because depending on the outcomes of whatever happens with master planning, we'll have to know how we're going to finance that, and just being updated and informed on the latest things coming. So please mark your calendars for February 7th. Again, we will start at 6 p.m. or no, 5:30, just our normal board time with Jane Herndon. So that'll be right here in the boardroom.
So in other words, except for Valentine's Day, just February
Here.
is school stuff, so
That's
just
right.
leave it
Isn't there
alone.
also legislation on changing the referendum process?
There were changes passed last year that implement timelines for change, and Jane will go over all of that with
I
us.
was thinking there's some stuff in there.
There is some now about,
There is, yeah.
yes, with taking on new debt, and that it's going to remain the same, and yes. So there is some language with that, you're right.
Okay. And then I think we're, is there anything else on your preview?
Nope.
Okay. We have opportunity for press conference. Nothing in the public.
Okay, our German bell ringer tonight. I am going to ask Dr. Reynolds to speak to something that was really cool that took place last night. So, Dr. Reynolds?
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter Lambright hosted a Twitter chat over Shift This. It was we host one every Tuesday in the district for professional learning, and we usually have a nice crowd of folks in and outside the district. This week it was taken over by Hunter, and he was going to host, but he hosted over Shift This.
What is Shift This?
Shift This is a book written by Joy Kerr about instruction and how to make micro changes in your classrooms, small changes that make big impact. But through this chat, this was a national chat that he had hosted and represented RCS in doing so. It was really exciting. People from all over the country was chatting, and part of that process when you do those Twitter chats is you use a hashtag that signifies the chat, but then also you have hashtags that signify that denote RCS too, that denoted RCS too. So it was really exciting. Joy Kerr is a highly respected in the educational field, and when you can have a conversation with her about changing educational thought process is pretty impressive. So Hunter leading that charge last night was an awesome feat.
There's a lot of traffic on that. I wasn't in it, but I was sort of watching, and it was busy.
And the really cool thing is, like Chuck said, so a nationally recognized author, turned it over to one of our teachers, who I may remind you has not been in the teaching profession for a long time.
I think 5
Is a Richmond alum.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is he an incredible teacher, he also coaches 2 sports.
Yes,
he does student council, I believe.
Yes.
Helps run the homecoming parade, so he is all in. So
he is all in.
And we just appreciate the efforts of our teachers and what they continue to do, taking risk and going out there for our kids. So,
on that note, we are adjourned.